Both current and devastating, the Chod Rig has been one of the biggest breakthroughs in rig development in the past decade.
Basically my approach is very simple. My boilie and pop-up fishing all revolves around just 3 rigs, or to put that a bit differently, really 3 hook mountings, how I present the bait. Then all the work and the changes, all goes into, the hook link, the lead, and how I fish it, and also how you fish the bait, whether I'm fishing it hard on the bottom, critically balanced, pop-up. I put a lot of work into the different bait presentations, but really I keep the rigs very simple. And I guess if you look back, the 2 main rigs I've described so far, my hinged pop-up, Terry Hearn's hinged pop-up rig and my blowback rig, they're 20 years old. But like I said, they still work to this day for me, so why clutter it up, why get your head cluttered, thinking about new rigs that just don't seem to give you any advantage. I like to keep it simple. I fish for big fish. I want to know everything works, and this continues to work. The other rig that I will use for bottom baits, or more likely I should say pop-ups, is the Chod Rig. I think that is something really special, and it's the only thing that's made me pay attention since my blowback rig. And I have to say, Nash made a major mess up here. I was on a lake called Waterways, beginning of the 90s. In fact, I wrote an article in the Carp Society mag about my experiences. Jim Gimmerson picked up on it and very kindly complimented me in print, saying the rig I wrote about was really ingenious. What happened at Waterways, that was very thick weed. There was gravel bars and patches, and that's what we was fishing to. It wasn't catching a thing. So I climbed up a tree and I watched the carp. They swim along, come up to a gravel bar or clear patch and just swim round it. They wouldn't even venture onto it. That's how frightened they were of the clear spots. So I thought, well, I got a fish from the weed. This is when we was at Harefield, that kind of time. We was all on these helicopter rigs. So I adjusted the rig, got a slidable bead above the hook link. The theory being that when it hit the water and the weed, the top bead would slide up with the force, and then the hook link would ride up and sit lightly on top of the weed. That's what I did. The results, as they say, were phenomenal. Wiped Waterways out. And the mad thing was though, I then moved to another water where the weed wasn't a problem, and I completely forgot about the rig. And that is really an early Chod Rig. I really messed up there. I didn't realise what I had. Should have kept on developing it. When I started hearing about the Chod Rig on the carp fishing grapevine, my mind immediately went back to my experience at Waterways, and I got quite excited. I immediately realised the relevance of this rig and what a difference it could make. I don't think it's so much about the actual Chod Rig itself being effective. I think really it's about where you fish it. As I noted at Waterways, the carp completely avoided the clear spots and the gravel spots. They was only confident in the deep weed, and that that applies to so many waters. Real deep silt, chod or whatever they call it, and deep weed. These are areas that aren't fished effectively by anglers, or anglers are frightened to fish them. So there's whole areas of lakes where carp can feel safe because they're not fished for. And you find an area of the lake where carp aren't fished for, and they can be so easy to catch. That's why I think the Chod Rig is so effective. It's enabling anglers to present their baits in areas where they haven't been presented before. I mentioned earlier I'm not a great fan of lead core, because I think fish do detect it. But with the Chod Rig, I think you really do need lead core. I know on some lakes you have to do versions because lead core is banned, but I think the lead core really comes into effect. The extra weight of it helps prick the carp. I wasn't happy with our lead cores or what lead cores are out there, and that's why really I developed Core Plus because of the Chod Rig. I was looking for a lead core that was heavier, and I don't like the fact that they stretch so much and they've got lower abrasion resistance. So that's what we was looking for when we developed the Core Plus. And I think, like I say, Nash Tackle made a good job. It's definitely the most superior lead core on the market. I like to fish me length of lead core as long as possible. I'll go up to 8 foot if I can. So again, you've got more weight to come into play, because you've got to remember the rig can be sliding up your line, i.e. your lead core, so you haven't got that direct bolt effect to pull the hook in until it hits either the lead at the bottom or the bead at the top. I think the Chod rig is a very difficult rig to get right and tie properly as well. You've got to really mess around with the hook link to get the angles right, the curve right, and use the right material. And if you don't get it right, you can get a lot of missed takes, knock-ins. They get away with it. Also, other elements you've got to bear in mind is the bottom bead. Like most, or the articles I saw, the people I was listening to, I started fishing it about a foot above the lead and gluing it in place on the lead core. Then I hooked a huge common one day, and the force of the battle, it slid the bead right down to the lead. And I saw the fish on the surface, it just shook its head violently and used the lead to leverage against the hook link. It just flew out. I was gutted. But after that I started tying a ring, or splicing a ring into the lead core about a foot or so, whatever, above the lead, so that the bead hits that ring and can't slide down to the lead. If the water is very weedy, again I go back to injecting the lead principle, so I use a rig similar to what we was using at Harefield, as I showed you, with a link clip at the bottom cut down, so I can cast it a long way. The lead comes off, I'm fishing a weak link, snaps on the take, and so it doesn't matter how deep the weed is, I can get the fish out of it, stop them burying into it. Nash Tackle will be bringing out a commercial version of my Chod leader later this year, with the ring spliced in so the bead can't slip down. Then all you've got to do is to learn to try that Chod rig up properly, getting the curves and everything right, as I mentioned. One observation I make from my early experience with the Chod rig, I used to get a lot of bleep bleeps, double bleeps and knocks, and I was sure the carp were getting away with it, and that's why I was so intensive about messing around with the angles and everything until I felt I got it right. And I think I did get it right, because then just screaming takes with very few false indications. So if you can get it like that, so you're not getting a load of bleeps and knocks, you can probably guess you've got it right and spot on. Worth persevering with. Like I said, I think the Chod rig is a major development at the moment.